Today's show is brought to you in part by Rapid River Knife Works, home of Michigan's largest custom knife factory showroom. Grouse hunting is a popular sport here in the UP, taking part mostly in the fall. But if you're looking for something to cure those winter stuck-at-home blues, a December hunt might be just the ticket.
Got it!
Then, stock car racing in the snow. Stick around, it's time for 906 Outdoors. 9 million acres of forest, 1,700 miles of continuous shoreline, 4,300 lakes, 12,000 miles of streams, more than 300 waterfalls, 15 counties, 2 time zones, and 1 area code. Welcome to the Upper Peninsula. Welcome to 906 Outdoors. .906 Outdoors is brought to you by Cooking Wild Seasonings. Make it fresh, make it yours. If you're a bird hunter and watch the show enough, you know Dennis Stakowitz of Aspen Thicket Grouse Dogs. We've covered training dogs for hunting, we've talked preseason tactics, and of course, we've hunted. So when I was kicking around the idea of a late season grouse hunting episode, Dennis was the guy to call. And as expected, he was more than happy to take me out one last time for the year and show me what hunting grouse in December was all about.
When we do late season grouse hunting, we use the same equipment for the dogs that we use in regular season. We're going to be hunting with Panzer in Georgia today. Say he's a little excited. Panzer is going to be 5 this spring. He's my number 1 male behind old Gunner, who's 12 and semi-retired now. He's officially our stud dog for our kennel now. He passed all of his health clearances with flying colors. Scott Bud, he's a fairly decent hunting dog, so hopefully he won't let us down today. It's late season. Dogs have been cooped up for deer season, pretty much been in the kennel for their safety. So they tend to like Saturdays in December so they can get out and burn some energy. I hunt with a 20 gauge, same as what I would normally. I hunt with a 28 or a 20 during the regular season, but I do tighten up the chokes a little bit late season. I believe I'm shooting skeet and modified in the second barrel. Typically what'll happen is these conditions out here, even though there's snow on the ground, it's really dry in the wintertime. I know a lot of people run humidifiers in your house. Well, it's no different out here. It's dry, and when you don't have a lot of humidity, there's not a lot of scent for the dogs. So typically when they do get on birds, if they point, they're right on top of them, or the birds will scoot out a little bit ahead of them, so you have longer shots than you would have earlier in the season. So you want to tighten up your pattern a little bit. I don't use any different shotgun shell than what I would normally use in the regular season. I shoot 7.5s all year long. I found that's a pretty good load. What we'll be doing is basically we'll walk along the edge of the river. There's pretty much a pine or a spruce complex along the edge of the river here. A lot of birds like to roost in that, and then they've got the popples adjacent to it that they can go out and feed on. So we'll send the dog down in, see if he can't point, or more likely this time of year run across and flush some grouse out of those spruce. This is a well-bred, experienced dog, and he's about that point where he's getting close to his peak, and he's going out. We got the wind at our backs. He's running lines down, getting out about 100 yards or so, and then he's working his way back to us, so he's got the wind in his face. And that's something that he learned from exposure to hunting conditions. Bird! That one's still flying for next year. Up in the tree.
906 Outdoors is brought to you in part by Blades Bait and Tackle, your hardwater connection to Little Beatty Knock.
These berry bushes, this particular area of public land, the DNR had planted these several years ago. I mean, the birds really stick to these. For whatever reason this year, their berries are clinging on there. You can see them. And the birds tend to sit tight to this. We won't be hunting normal, what you would consider grouse cover. A lot of times you hit the younger aspen or the popple, but once the snow hits the ground and it gets colder, you really want to focus on your heavy spruce areas, your swamp edges that are adjacent to this type of food, because they spend a lot of time roosting in the spruce trees to get out of the cold, and then they go out and feed at times of the day, and then they go back into the roost. I'd be willing to bet that without a lot of deep snow, most of the birds we will find today will either be in these on the actual limbs feeding or in the spruce trees roosting. Here's some grouse tracks. Looks to be like from earlier, probably, well, we haven't got a snow, but we had a little bit of warming. So these look like they're with the dust around. They were probably from this morning. Looks like the bird was working over this way into that, probably went and fed in those berries, and now he'll be out here somewhere, maybe in a spruce tree. We can find him and flush him up. Yeah, you can see a lot of tracks in here when you get in this thick spruce in the middle of this aspen area. They really, really like this spruce. It gives them good thermal cover. That was what we call an unproductive point. He had the scent of a bird that was pretty close at one time, and you can see by the tracks that bird is probably really, really close. I would expect that we're going to put it up if we can stay on top of it. It looks like it's moving in this general direction here. It might have held up over here and flushed out before we got here, but I think he probably would have went with it. He's trying to do now is figure out which way that bird went. He's trying to use the wind first. He had the scent right there. He pointed it, thinking there was a bird there. When I got in front of him and nothing flushed, I released him. Now he's trying to figure it out. I think the tracks went this way. The bird could have flushed from right here before we got up here, but again, we'll let the dog try and figure it out for us. Tough hunting this time of year. Typically this time of year, what you find out is they group back up into, I guess the proper term is coveys, but they group back up into family groups. It's not uncommon if you find one this time of year, you'll find 3 or 4 together. And that's what makes it a challenge in late season. When they're spread out in October, you can average a flush or 2.5 flushes in an hour. You come out in December, you might have that average, but you're going to work 2 hours to find one bird, and when you find that one bird, there'll be a bunch together with it normally. So one of the differences in the wintertime is you'd notice that we've been looking at some tracks on the ground, and you can see where grouse roost at and drop down and walk around and what they're feeding. I tend to like to use that to find out areas to hunt and target, but in particular, I don't want having pointing dogs. There's 2 types of scents that pointing dogs work: cold scent and hot scent. Hot scent is what we call the scent of the bird itself, and cold scent is the tracking scent for the bird. And that cold scent, if a dog is spending his time on that cold scent, a pointing dog, that's going to bring their head down, and they're going to have their head on the ground, and they're not going to pick up that hot scent when the bird's in front of them, and they tend to flush the bird. So in the wintertime, I use the tracks more for myself to kind of figure out where birds are at, and I don't like my dogs to potter around on that cold scent because, like I said, that brings their head down. They like to keep their heads up. I think we talked about it earlier. When they have their heads up, they can catch that hot scent of the bird and are less likely to actually flush the bird and hold it and allow you to come in and flush it. Oh, look at that point. That is a beautiful, beautiful point. That bird moved on him. Nope, that one's gone. Well, sometimes the dogs they point birds in trees or whatever. That's not really genetics or anything. I mean, it's good that they have a good nose and they stop to point and stuff, but it's usually a early experience for a dog. They could be out in the woods and a bird could flush from a tree, and they'll see a bird flush from a tree and they'll start making that association. And if that happens at a particular time in the imprinting period when they're young, you could have a dog that runs around and points birds when they're up in trees every now and then. So no magic involved. It's just a kind of stroke of luck depending on when it first happens with them, at what age they are. goes. Got it. Fetch it up, Pans. Come on. Fetch it up. Let's go, buddy. Come on. Come on. Fetch it up. Find a bird, bud. Fetch it up. Okay, here. 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 Bring it here. Here, buddy. Here. Come on. Fetch it up. Bring it here. Hey, here. Give. Good job, buddy. I love these birds. Just a beautiful, beautiful bird. Gray phase. The dog had pointed it on one of those awareness points. The bird was actually up in the tree. The dog pointed, I don't know what he'd say, pointed about 5-6 seconds there. I took a step towards him. The dog took a step and the bird flushed out of the tree. And we were lucky to bag it. These birds are just beautiful. Late season bird. You can see how the feathers starts to cover their feet, and eventually you can see it starts growing here. As it gets later in the winter, their feet will get a lot of hair on it, and that helps them walk on the snow. It's almost like snowshoes for the animals, but oh, this is just a beautiful bird. Good job, Panzer. Great. Nice gray phase. I love this stuff. Just beautiful. Good job, buddy. Hey, is that yours? Huh? Yeah, good job, bud. Now we're going to hunt Georgia, who is, I still call her my puppy. This is only her second hunting season, so this, of course, is only her second time out in late season. And she has quite a bit less experience than the other dogs, so it'd be interesting to see how her learning curve goes today out in the woods. You know, she's done pretty good through the first couple of seasons for a young dog, but this late season is a lot harder, and it's, like I said, it's different with the scent conditions, so hopefully she can maybe point a bird or two for us. We'll see. Let's go, Georgia! These young dogs, I spend a little bit more time watching this with them. Like I said, it's all about that learning process. You need to go out and figure out these wild birds on their own. Find them birds? Huh? Not to the point that they're disobedient and whatnot. I mean, she comes back in and checks in and things like that, but it's all about exposure and patience. I'm right here. Yeah, looking for me? There it goes. It was in here. And flushed from right here. Oh. I'll get back so you get the dog work. Watch her work this. We're gonna be here a while because if she smells a bird, she don't give up on them, which is a very, very good quality you like to see in a dog. If they think there's a bird around, you want them to be real thorough. Not pottering per se, but you want them to, you know, not give up. Keep looking for that bird, even if they flush it. That's experience that obviously they get rather than just running off, you know. And part of why I like late season for young dogs is just that. It's not easy. It's not woodcock that sit for a point all day long, and you know, flight birds down and you run into one every minute. So dogs have to learn how to hunt. That's particularly why I like these seasons where the bird numbers are down a little bit, because dogs have to actually go out and earn it, and it makes for better dogs later on. Come on, girl. I'm sure there's more. You don't want to go back? Well, everybody, we got to go back.
906 Outdoors is brought to you in part by Christ, your Northwoods neighborhood store. During the winter, you can find all sorts of racing. Snowshoe races, bike races, dog sled races, snowmobile races, ski races, and even motorcycle and ATV races. Well, add one more to the list. Stock car races.
We've been doing this for 25 years down here in Marinette. It started out as once a year with our Winterfest, and gradually it grew into a 4-race series. We have front-wheel drive 4-cylinder cars, we have front-wheel drive 6-cylinder cars, and we have rear-wheel drive V8 cars. And those cars are racing on, believe it or not, the same tires you guys drive to the store every day. They do a little work to them so they get a little bit more traction. And then the 4th division, what I'll be racing today is a 4-cylinder front-wheel drive studded car. Take a brand new tire and we put 700 or 800 drywall screws in them so they stick out 3/8 of an inch, and we go race on those. These cars here weigh anywhere from 4,500 to 5,000 pounds. You want a lot of traction. You know, that concept of putting sandbags in your trunk when you're trying to get traction in the winter, kind of the same concept applies here. They have lead mounted, they have big steel I-beams on the cars because you're going to run into each other. Our studded cars, we try to reduce the weight a little bit because we actually do have traction with the studded tires. We try to keep things light. But all right, this is one of our rear wheel drives. A 77 Impala, 350 Chevy engine. This tire right here is a Towel City recap from North Carolina. And you find that kind of odd because North Carolina, they probably never see snow or ice, but yet they make the best ice racing tires there is. This car is owned by Travis Rydell. He's probably the winningest ice racer I've ever met in my life. He's been doing it for 25 years. He's probably won over 100 features. You know, everybody's got their little tricks and nuances on what to do with the tires. Obviously, Travis has got it figured out. He's been doing it for so long and he's so successful at it. But the only thing different between this one and the one that was getting groceries in 1977 is he rebuilt the engine and he's got a little bit of iron on it because there is contact. As you can see, you know, we got a little bit of paint on here. It's beat up a little bit, but that's what happens on the ice. You got to make these things durable. You got to finish the race to finish first. So, you know, Travis built a great car here. The thing's built like a tank, still going strong. We get fairly good speed down here, probably 75, 80 miles an hour on this 3rd mile track. Basically what this is just something to do in the winter. We've been doing it for, like I said, 25 years, and the club gets bigger and bigger every year. All right, this one here is a studded car. It's a 1991 Chevy Beretta. We got the quad 4 engine in it, and there's not a whole lot different between the one that's driving on the street and this race car except the roll cage. And basically what we do is we take a brand new tire and we put probably 700 to 800 drywall screws in it. Takes about 8 to 9 hours to make a tire. Now if you look at some of the cars out here, they just knocked the windows out and they went racing. I kind of like a little bit of comfort, so we put plastic windows on here. I can get in and out. We've got heat, we've got defrost. I'm not into that racing in 20 below zero stuff, but just got a standard roll cage and plain little dash, and that's all we did. No, in all seriousness, you have to have defrost in these cars because when we're out on the track, especially today, you're going to have water all over the windshield. These studded tires create snow dust as we race, so that comes on the windshield. If you can't wipe it off, you just can't see. I had 2 weeks ago, we had a windshield wiper actually break on us. I've never seen that before, but we had a windshield wiper break. I couldn't see out the window. You don't go fast. When you're going that fast, obviously your windshield temperatures drop. I've seen cars that hit the water puddle and their windshield turns to ice instantly. So most cars have their windows knocked out, some don't, but you have to have defrost to keep the windshield warm or you're not going to be able to see after one lap. So basically these cars are what you were driving 8, 9, 10 years ago. There's not a whole lot done to them, especially we call them the rubber tire division, the cars that don't have studs. You can put a lot of money into an engine, you can put a lot of money into lightweight parts, but ultimately you're on ice and a lot of that just doesn't show up. So if you want to get into racing, it's a very cheap and safe venue to go racing. Let's say it's a lot of these cars, all they did was they knocked the lights out, they took the plastic off the car, they put some steel rubber rails on the car, and they went racing. That's all they did. I mean, that's, you know, back in the day in stock car racing started, that's what everybody did. And obviously nowadays that's not the case. I mean, there's purpose-built engines, there's purpose-built lightweight parts and stuff like that. But for the most part, if you look at these cars that are in the pit area, these are knock the windows out, knock the lights out, knock the plastic off of it, put some ice racing tires on, and let's go. And it's, you know, for $300 or $400, you could be down here having fun with us. We usually start racing the last weekend of January, and we go every Saturday from the end of January to the end of February. So keep that in mind for next year. You can follow all we do on our Facebook page, M&M Icebreakers. We have all our rules, we have all our events listed. We ask for a $5 donation for the spectator parking, and you can have one person in the car, you can have 10 in the car, it doesn't matter to us. And what that donation goes for is porta potties, garbage cleanup, stuff like that. I mean, this is a low dollar operation, but it still costs money to put these races on with the M&M Icebreakers, and a $5 donation for about 4 hours of entertainment, you know, you can't find that anywhere. You look at the cost of a movie or a baseball game, or, you know, 3 or 4 hours of entertainment there, it's going to cost you $30, $40, $50 to take a family of 4. $5, come on down, great entertainment.